So away we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you happen to be listening anywhere else and you would like to join the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University. That's at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And you can find me on Rumble. And that would be Coffee Talk 2, the number 2. Coffee Talk 2, the number 2, that is. Although, if you find me on Rumble, I cannot see your comments. I can only see your comments if they are coming through on YouTube, because unfortunately, Restream doesn't work that way. And I'm currently using Restream, and I'm going to see if I can get switched back to StreamYard. Again, it's not always easy. Keep in mind, this is all out of pocket for me. I'm not like nationally syndicated or anything. As we get ready to jump off here, as always, I read through as many of the comments as is reasonable. And I'll go ahead and say hello to some of the people that have chimed in on the live portion. I see Brian has joined us, as well as Kimberly, JJ, Raccoon. Who else is here? Jimmy. Gary is here. John is here. He says he's here for the cats. That's okay. I have one in the background. D-Lo is here. And some of you might see that is actually Miss Kitty. Try if I straighten that out. Miss Kitty sleeping in the chair behind me. That's Miss Kitty, right? Yeah, that's Miss Kitty. Sleeping in the chair behind me, keeping me company today as we get ready to jump off and see what is going on in the world. Got a few things to say about Biden, but we'll start off with the LA mayor. I see Caps has joined us, as well as Dragon. We'll start off with the LA mayor. And this is going to be a Western Journal article, because I think all these people, hopefully, their careers are finished. Newsom, the mayor of Los Angeles, all of these people, the fire chief, the deputy fire chief. Western Journal says LA mayor's wildfire blunder looks even worse after campaign promise resurfaces. And this is actually pretty important, because I don't know if anybody is aware of it, and I had forgotten about this. She promised that she wasn't going to leave the country under any circumstances if she was elected mayor. I see Country Living has joined us, said it's 11 below where they are in Minnesota this morning. Wow. I think here it was like, I don't remember. I want to say it was like 32 or 31 this morning. Helter is here, as well as Bob. Glad you could make it. Back to the Western Journal, it says the lethal wildfires ravaging the Los Angeles area since last week have fixed Americans' attention on failed California Democrats, and it is a complete collapse of their governing system, all the way up and down the board. It really is. They have really failed the state. California's been in a bad position for a long time. It has really showcased itself in the last week. Back to the article. Now it appears that the establishment might have handed its media allies a scapegoat, albeit one who actually deserves blame. In an October 2021 interview with the New York Times, an interview mentioned near the beginning of a lengthy story published Sunday, the mayoral candidate, Karen Bass, pledged that should she win election to the Los Angeles mayor's office, she would refrain from traveling outside of the country. Today, as the Times admitted, Bass's pledge has been spectacularly broken. A former U.S. representative and member of the House Foreign Affairs Committee, Bass focused heavily on U.S.-Africa relations. And that's true. She has a very long political career. In fact, the prospect of giving up regular trips to Africa made her think twice about running for mayor. Quote, the idea of leaving that, especially the international work and the Africa work, I was like, I don't think I want to do that, she said in the interview. To serve as mayor, however, she would be willing to make that sacrifice. If elected, she promised, not only would I, of course, live here, but I also would not travel internationally. The only place I would go would be DC, Sacramento, San Francisco, and New York in relation to Los Angeles. Yeah, promises broken. Anybody surprised? Anybody surprised by that? And that's something that a lot of people may have forgotten about. The New York Times remembered, and now everybody knows. She said she would never leave the country. Never leave the country if she was elected mayor, as long as she was mayor, so that she could continue to properly represent Los Angeles. First opportunity that came up for her to leave the country, and she was out of there. But what do you expect from people like this? What do you expect? Oh, she broke a promise. No shit. Seriously? Think about this. Just to go to show you what type of person you're dealing with Karen Bass, okay? Again, she has a very long political history, okay? Very long political history, this woman. I think it goes all the way back to 2006, if I'm not mistaken. If somebody knows better, they can correct me on that. Prior to that, she had other professional jobs. But this is a woman who was on the bandwagon of very advanced gun control policies, right? Let's keep the weapons of war off our streets, banging that drum. Who, when her home was burglarized in 2022, firearms was among the list of things stolen. Let that sink in. So she wants you not to be armed, but it's okay if she is and her family is, right? Is that the idea? I think that's the direction that we're going in with that. But big surprise, she made a promise to people and broke it. Broke it. Not that that has anything to do with the wildfires, outside of the fact that she was in Guyana at the time the fires broke out. As it goes on to say here, when the wildfires broke out, Bass found herself in the West African nation of Guyana. Visiting West Africa, of course, qualifies as international travel. Yes, indeed it does. Yes, indeed it does. When confronted by a reporter at the airport on her way back to Los Angeles, Bass said nothing. She repeatedly and cold-heartedly refused to answer questions or even give a statement about the wildfires. And we watched the video clip of that yesterday. I mean, it not just refused, but acted as if he wasn't there, like he was a specter, just ignored him completely, like he was not there. And Country says typical liberal. Yeah, it sure looks that way, doesn't it? Sure looks that way, doesn't it? But that's the attitude. That is the attitude. That's what we've come to expect from these people, unfortunately. What's good for thee is not meant for me. I'm a political elitist. So do as I say, not as I do. Ultimately, John says we need common sense assault vehicle regulation. I know. And Brian says gun control is a method by the orders from above, who probably just want some specific real estate to accidentally wind up back on the market. Possibly. But there's a lot of blame to go around. Hopefully the right people are getting blamed. It looks like that's what's going on right now. She certainly is on that list because she's a phony. She's a career politician phony, like a lot of the rest of them, like Newsom, like Harris, like many of these people. Just really sick and tired of them. Wish they would go away. But don't worry, Newsom's on it. Newsom's on it, pledging money that he doesn't have. As we jump into the next article here really quickly, let's pledge money. And this is from The Wrap. The Wrap has this article. Gavin Newsom proposes a $2.5 billion or proposes $2.5 billion in wildfire relief and promises LA, we have your back. Yeah, got your back, homie. We'll hook you up. We got you. As wildfires still rage across Los Angeles, and they are still burning, and the area braces for more potentially deadly firestorms. California Governor Gavin Newsom on Monday proposed at least $2.5 billion in additional funding for ongoing emergency response and to aid recovery efforts from a state that is really almost practically bankrupt. Okay, they're really almost practically bankrupt at this point. There's no money. Where are you going to get $2.5 billion? Because the government doesn't want to give it to you. The government is very cautious, especially after what happened with all of we read the story last year, the $55 billion in unemployment relief funds that they lost and don't know where it went. A lot of money disappears in California without a trace, with no explanation. The government doesn't want to give them any money. Where are you going to get $2.5 billion, especially when you're talking at last count more than $60 billion in collateral damage so far? 2.5 is a drop in the bucket. Newsom, who toured the devastation from the Palisades fire on January 8th, promised the people of Los Angeles, we have your back, vowing to replicate the post-World War II funding initiative that helped rebuild Europe. Oh, great. California is organizing a Marshall Plan to help Los Angeles rebuild faster and stronger, he wrote, citing the post-World War II funding initiative that helped rebuild Europe. Europe never really recovered, by the way, from World War II. Let's just point that out really quickly, including billions in new and accelerated state funding so we can move faster to deliver for the thousands who've lost their homes and livelihoods in these firestorms. Why do I feel like he should sound like some snooty cartoon character who's from like Cape Cod or something? A real blue blood and his family came over on the Mayflower. Let's try that again. Including billions in new and accelerated state funding so we can move faster and deliver for the thousands who've lost their homes and livelihoods in these firestorms. To the people of Los Angeles, we have your back. Per the statement, the funding will support recovery and cleanup as well as additional wildfire preparedness. You should have thought of that before. And reopening schools shuttered by the fire. Yeah, you need to get the schools open. That's your first priority. Holy crap. Unbelievable. And Cyberjack Sr. has joined us. Glad you could make it. Gary says government pretends to be bumbling fools, but there's a method to the madness. No, I've always said that about all of them. Don't be so sure they're that dumb, because I hear that all the time. Oh my God, AOC, she's a blithering idiot. Are you sure? Are you sure? Careful. They're smart enough to get where they are. They figured something out. JJ said Newsom is grabbing at straws, hoping that the large portion of citizens don't leave now that their homes and neighborhoods are gone. That's a lot of tax revenue. I wonder where the hell they're going to get this $2.5 billion from. Raise taxes, maybe? Is that what it is? And Jericho has joined us. Glad you could make it today. Unbelievable, these people. Oh, the governor's proclamation expands the scope of the current special session, allowing the legislature to approve funding quickly. Yeah. So what they're going to do, they're going to add $1 billion to state emergency response funding available to promptly fund costs, which should be eligible for reimbursement by FEMA for emergency response, cleanup, and recovery of areas affected by the wildfires. Yeah, so they're basically giving out a loan, hoping FEMA's going to pay it back. Got it. Provide funding for technical assistance to local educational agencies regarding efforts to rebuild and repair schools. Oh my God. Just let them burn. Increasing preparedness by accelerating the availability of $1.5 billion in funding for greater preparedness against the threat of firestorms, windstorms, or other natural disasters. That sounds like you're paying bureaucrats to shuffle papers around. I don't trust any of that. I don't trust any of that. Incredible. McGuire adds, we'll do all of this while investing in legal protections for some of our most vulnerable Californians. Time is of the essence, and we are moving with speed with Governor Newsom and Speaker Rivas to get folks the relief and resources they desperately need right now. What are you going to give them that FEMA's not going to give them, or that the National Guard's not going to give them? Kimberly says, of course they're going to raise taxes, and Cap says he loves the impressions. I try. I try. Sometimes these people crack me up. Plus, I mean, reading all this news every day, it's toxic. Trust me, it really is. So I may as well have some fun with it so I don't lose my mind. So, yeah, this guy's a fraud. He's a fraud, just like the mayor. Career politician, doesn't care about anybody. He's got a bunch of initiatives, pretending to be on the right side of history, doesn't know what he's doing. But, you know, speaking of frauds, that's what Newsom, Governor Nuisance, somebody ought to get him a laurel. I want to see memes of Governor Nuisance wearing a laurel around his head like Caesar. That's what I want to see, because that's about who he resembles at this point. Monkey says BlackRock licking their lips right now with the properties suddenly available. Indeed, yeah, it's land value only, pretty much, as was promised in the thumbnail. Biden's got this. Dear old, sweet old, lovable old, reliable old, transparent old Uncle Joe. Man, he's got your back. He's got your back. He has a solution. Newsweek article coming up here. Joe Biden announces stimulus checks for people that were impacted by the California fires. Hey, stimulus checks. I want one. Can I get a stimulus check? I feel like I've been impacted by this, honestly. President Joe Biden said on Monday that people impacted by the California wildfires will receive a one-time payment of $770. All right. Cash in the bank. Money in my pocket. That's that folding money, as they used to say in the South. Get me some of that fold. $770. So they can quickly purchase things like water, baby formula, and prescriptions. Where are they going to get them? All the stores are burned down. Isn't that the stuff FEMA's supposed to be handing out? The announcement sparked, oh my God. The announcement sparked a wave of criticism and anger on social media, I bet, with many complaining that the one-time payment was not enough, especially in the Golden State, where the cost of living is higher than much of the rest of the country. This almost sounds like a joke. This almost sounds like a joke. Doesn't it? Doesn't that sound like a parody? Like someone made that story up and you're like, no, that can't be real. That can't be real. Oh, man. I know. I'm having too much fun with this. D'Lo says we know he's a joke for California. We don't like this guy. Jericho says he saw a meme about the Hollywood sign being replaced with BlackRock surrounded by charred grass. Yep. Monkey says watch it be 1,000. No, $770. $770. Yeah, that's right. You overestimated. You're more generous than Joe. You're more generous than Joe. You overestimated by $230. Eric says we're all impacted by the fires because we're paying for the rebuild. No, you know why we're all impacted by the fires, Eric? Climate change. All that smoke. Oh my God. Climate change. Oh, I need a check. Someone give me a check quick. Oh my God. Uh, Gary says plausible incompetency. Yes. Country says, is this a loan like the hurricane victims? Those that could not even get it, what money they could even get it, rather, what money is California kicking in? And Monkey says it sounds like the equivalent of getting a pizza party rather than a raise or a bonus for the quarter. I'll take the pizza. I'll take the pizza too. Send me a pizza. Send me a coupon for a free pizza. Hey, Domino's has that emergency pizza program that they're running right now. Isn't that Domino's? The emergency pizza. I need a pizza right away, damn it. Get this man a pizza. I'll take it. I'll take $770 worth of pizzas. I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to complain. I'll take all the help I can get. Wow. It says here, it goes on to say, on January 8th, Biden approved the Golden State's major disaster declaration, releasing federal funding to affected individuals in the Los Angeles County. This includes grants for temporary housing and home repairs. Home repairs. You going to fix that? You've seen this film footage and these photographs, right? You see like charred beams sticking up out of piles of ashes. I think you're beyond home repair at this point. Low-cost loans to cover unsecured property losses, or uninsured property losses, excuse me, and other programs to help individuals and businesses owners recover from the effects of the disaster, and that's according to the White House. Incredible. Kimberly says, my family's in Las Vegas are getting a lot of the smoke. And yes, that is Domino's. Gary says pizza is the new real estate. I know. I want pizza. Now I want pizza. I like pizza. Pizza is like the perfect food. I could eat pizza every day. Can't do it, but I could. I could eat pizza every single day. So I want a check for $770 and a pizza. 3 pizzas to be collected at 3 different times. And I want a voucher for ice cream. Better if it's a pizza place and I won't even get a drink. I'll settle for the water. I won't drink it because it's tap water, but I'll settle for the water instead of the drink. Oh my God. Like I told you, like I alluded to here he is. Here's Joe thinking about it. He's thinking very intently. He can't remember where he is or why he's there, but it'll come to him. I told you, Uncle Joe, he's got this. He's got your back. John says that FEMA is a horrible and corrupt organization. And Kimberly says the insurance companies that canceled fire insurance need to be boycotted and ran out of business. There's a little bit more to it than that, Kimberly, and I'm actually going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit because I have something on that. It's a little bit more to it than just insurance companies telling people to screw. And I'll put this up from all people who has something to say about the $770. I'll leave that up there for a minute as we get ready to move on. And actually, Kimberly, this is what I'm talking about right here. And this is Tyler Perry in the news trying to be relevant again. Tyler Perry is in the news trying to be relevant again. I don't like Tyler Perry. Let me just point that out. And Brian says that just not Domino's, it's fake pizza filled with preservatives and other crap. Actually, no. My favorite place that's within reach is a place called Atlanta Gyros. And it's not, a lot of people pronounce it gyro, Gyro, but it's a Greek word and it's pronounced gyros. So it's Atlanta Gyros, and it's a home-owned, a family-owned business that's been there for decades. And their pizza is top notch. I really like what they do there. But here we go, and this is going to be a page 6 article. I'm going to read Tyler Perry trying to pretend to be relevant, and then I'm going to make my point. So it says, Tyler Perry calls out insurance companies for canceling millions of policies ahead of the LA fires. He says it's pure greed. Maybe, maybe not. Tyler Perry called out insurance companies for canceling millions of policies for Los Angeles homeowners ahead of the disastrous wildfires. The filmmaker took to Instagram Sunday to share that he saw a woman using a garden hose to protect her 90-year-old parents' homes because their insurance was canceled. I'm sure that insurance or no insurance, if she had a garden hose, she'd still try to put that fire out. Does anyone else find it appalling that the insurance companies can take billions of dollars out of communities for years and then all of a sudden be allowed to cancel millions of policies for the very people they became rich on? He wrote in a lengthy statement. Okay? People who have paid premiums all of their lives and left with nothing because of pure greed. As I am in the process of trying to figure out what steps to take to do all I can to help as many as I can, I am keeping everyone in my prayers. You mean like that $1 million that you gave to TD Jakes and then you laid hands on him in that fake ceremony and TD Jakes pretended to faint? I'm not making that up. Look it up. Tyler Perry, the guy who made it okay to cross-dress for Christ, that opened, or through the door opened for all of the really effeminate men in the Black community. Let's just leave that there for a while. They didn't just suddenly pack up and leave. The insurance companies have been leaving California for years. They've been leaving California for years because of high taxes, outrageous regulations, and very high crime rates. There's only so much, an insurance company, there's only so much they can take before they're pushed over the edge. They may make a lot of money, but there's a limit. And if they start hemorrhaging money, they could be facing bankruptcy. And it's better for them to get away from California, as they have been for almost a decade now, than to continue to pour money into it. If you are a store owner, just for example, in California, and you are robbed at gunpoint twice a week, how much longer do you think that the insurance company is going to be able to support that before they're like, you know what, dude, we can't do this anymore? And then it's not just that store, it's the whole neighborhood. It's the whole freaking neighborhood. So it's not just an issue of pure greed, it's an issue of staying in business with some of these insurance companies. Furthermore, a lot of people don't have the insurance because they just don't want to pay for it. If you are, if you have a lease on your property, you have a mortgage, you have to be insured. So people that flat out own their properties chose to walk away from insurance and not pay it anymore because the insurance companies that are still in California, the premiums are so high, it doesn't make any sense. But the reason that they're so high is because of the taxes, because of California's regulations, and because of obscenely high crime rates. As I just catch up a couple of comments here, Tuck says he hates the insurance industry, but yeah, they're not the supervillain in this story. No, they're not. California legislation is. Puck says he saw there's a video posted from a Hurricane Helene refugee camp in North Carolina. Gary says Pagliassi Pizza in North Seattle is a good choice. All People says Tyler Perry is the boy toy pal of people like Oprah and P. Diddy. Kimberly says Tyler does play women in all of his movies. All People says California passed ridiculous legislation that essentially forced insurance companies to leave the state. Then the fires were possibly set for a land grab. That is a possibility that they were set, and that's something a lot of people are tossing around. I know it's a conspiracy theory. Personally, I think that Billy Joel started the fire, but when I asked him about it, he said he didn't do it, that the fires had always been burning since the world was turning. Gary says if you live in Tornado Alley, you should build your house accordingly. Same with Southern California wildfire zones, build accordingly. Our house, for example, here in Georgia, the siding is hardy board, and that's Hardy, hardy board. It is fireproof, and it doesn't cost that much more than regular siding. And I mean, literally, it's fireproof because I took pieces of it, cuttings from it while they were installing it, and I put it in our fireplace while we were burning the logs, and it will not burn. It will not burn. And that's what you do. That's what you do. If you're in a place that's prone to fire, you might want to do something like that. You might want hardy board for your siding. You might want a steel roof rather than traditional tiles. Brian says when Tyler Perry dies, God won't even review him. He's just going to say, down to Satan you go. I don't know if you even want to talk to him that much. Puck says, I suspect that either California gave the insurance companies a heads up about impending wildfires, or they saw the writing on the wall with regard to policy. It's policy because they've been ducking out for almost a decade now, easily. And it's been steamrolling because as each year gets closer and closer, more and more of the insurance companies are like, no, we just can't do business here anymore. It's too much. It's way too much. And am I still doing okay here? Because I got a flash warning from Restream that says connectivity issue. Anyways, Tyler Perry, I don't like this guy. I don't trust this guy. He's pretty weird. And his connection with TD Jakes, and like I said, look that video up where he lays hands on TD Jakes and TD Jakes is vibrating and falls out on the floor and whatever. It's so phony and so staged. Yeah, I just don't go in for that sort of thing. I just don't go in for it. Don't like that. Don't trust that. Let me see if this is catching up. Jimmy says it's good. Tuck says it's good. Okay, good. Like I said, I got a warning there. So I just want to make sure that that there's no disconnect. But Tyler Perry's not the one I want to hear from, although it was, from a social media perspective, a smart thing to say, because most people, they're not going to sit there and try to break it down and say, well, why exactly are the insurance companies pulling out of California? Let me look that up real quick and see. Most people aren't going to do that. And they're going to sit there and say, yeah, Tyler Perry, woo, you tell them. Because now protesting is reduced to making snarky comments on X and Instagram. Puck says, I heard the new Los Angeles will be fireproof according to Newsom and others. Yeah, sure. All they have to do is build those houses with hardy board. Like I said, I mean, I took pieces from the cuttings and I tested that, and I ran it, in the fireplace. My wife loves the fireplace. Throw a piece in there for 4 or 5 hours while she's running logs. Keep it on top. Took it out afterwards. It did not burn. That stuff did not burn. It's pretty impressive, And it doesn't cost that much more, again, than traditional siding. So if anybody out there needs to re-side their house, I would go with hardy board. And I would have it installed by a certified hardy board installer, because they don't use caulking. They actually put flashing behind every spacing on the hardy board. So everywhere that the boards meet, they don't splash caulking in there. They put flashing behind it, which is actually pretty impressive. It's a lot of work. And Rodney's here, and Rodney made a donation to the channel. Says here's a couple of pennies to help keep the lights on. Well, I don't know about keeping the lights on, but absolutely helps a lot with our felines. Much appreciated, Rodney. As you can see, again, there is Miss Kitty sitting in the chair behind me, sleeping in the chair behind me. It's a nap time for everybody. But yeah, thank you very much, Rodney. Always appreciated. Always appreciated. We had Kimberly says you should be paid for the Hardy Board plug. Yeah, no kidding. Because I'm not a sponsor. You know what I mean? I'm not a sponsor by any means, but to me, it works. It works, so I would recommend it if anybody is looking to do that. I would absolutely recommend it if anybody's looking to do that. You might can hear a helicopter in the background. More and more of them. Yeah, Hardy Board, where's my check? I want I want my check, Hardy Board. I'll never get one. Washington Examiner article. This just happened. Biden forgets card with military deaths in speech to defend his foreign policy legacy. Whoopsie. Yeah, he's talking about his legacy here because he's been blowing his horn for weeks now about how great of a president he was and how fantastic his legacy is. 50 years in politics. I can't tell you what he did that was so great. I can't tell you what he could have possibly done. That's so fantastic. I really can't. But I'm sure he can. I'm sure he can go on for hours if he can stay awake that long. President Joe Biden on Monday defended his foreign policy record and said he's giving the incoming Trump administration a stronger hand to play on the world stage. And I've got to tell you, from a personal perspective, I don't think I have seen the United States look weaker in my lifetime than it has in the last 4 years. I thought it was bad when Obama was in office. This is a disaster. I don't think I've seen it look weaker. I don't know how he can justify saying he's handing Trump a strong hand to play on the world stage. Speaking at the State Department in his final week, that's right, final week, we got 6 days to go. Biden said the United States has more friends and stronger alliances as he leaves office. He urged President-elect Trump to carry forward his legacy, especially on climate agreements and U.S. global leadership. We're not leading anybody anywhere right now. And the climate thing, I mean, that's not going to happen. As many of you have heard, Trump refers to that as the climate scam. I agree. On his deadliest foreign policy mistake, the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan that killed 13 service members, Biden stood by his decision to end the war that started after the September 11th terrorist attack. Quote, I'm the first president in decades to not leave the war in Afghanistan to his successor, Biden said during his farewell address. In an apparent attempt to acknowledge the cost of his Afghanistan decision, Biden searched his jacket pockets for a card that he carries with, quote, the actual number of dead and wounded incurred in our longest war to remind himself. However, he could not find the card, and apologizing said, I think my schedule with me and I don't actually. That's a quote. That is a quote. But that's about how he always sounds anyways. Puck says metal roofs are the way to go. I sold Hardy Board years ago, also put it on our old house. Really good stuff. There you go. Rodney says the Democrats are sabotaging everything they can in order to make Trump look bad. I agree. Puck says in Biden's defense, he got fewer U.S. troops killed in, Afghanistan than Barry Soweto did. I guess you mean Obama, though he had the advantage of 4 years of Trump before he came along. Well, I mean, it wasn't a war at that point. It was more of an occupation while they were trying to install an interim government. And it didn't work. It didn't work. They pulled out too quickly. They didn't set things up properly. The Taliban, I mean, 24 hours. And Brian says celebrity have crazy fans who ride and blindly agree with everything they say without researching for themselves. That's true. And Jericho says he glitched out. Yes, he did. I'll show that again. His quote: "I think I have my schedule with me, and I don't actually." He goes on to say, back to the teleprompter, "We grieve those brave service members whose lives were lost in the withdrawal. Ending the war was the right thing to do, and I believe history will reflect that." Yeah, okay. Biden's speech was an epilogue to his 4 years of foreign policy work. His presidential term was marked by widespread instability in U.S. spheres of influence as the administration sought to extinguish fires in multiple geopolitical theaters, ranging from East Asia to the Middle East. No, that's not what he said. He didn't say there was any instability and that we had raging geopolitical fires. He said he had a legacy of global leadership and that he's leaving Trump with a good hand to play to carry forward. Biden said so. He said so. Cap says, "What legacy? I thought he slept the entire time and screwed everything up." No, he had time for other things, smelling hair, eating ice cream, you know, stuff like that. He got around tripping over cables. That's what everyone's going to remember Biden for at this point. It's really sad, actually, but that's what everyone's going to remember him for. But I mean, this is 50 years. 50 years in politics. And again, and I brought this up many times, the whole weirdness with him started after his brain surgeries in 1987. And so it's not an issue of covering for him the last 4 years. They've been covering for this guy for decades, for more than 30 years. Think about that. 1987, I believe, is when he had the last brain surgery. All that weird smelling things and odd comments and stuff, it started then. That's when he should have retired. That's when somebody should have said, man, something's not going on very well upstairs. Your elevator's not going to the top floor anymore, dude. No, they kept him in. They kept him in. Monkey says, very inspirational words from Biden. Yeah. And that, of course, is sarcasm. Country says he's a legacy, all right. JJ says after Biden, an iguana could do a better job. Probably. There are places that do things like elect a goat or a cat as mayor, as a novelty for the town. Here's our Mayor McGoat. Mayor McPuss in Boots. They could do something like that. We could I get cats that would be good candidates for president. I think so. They'll keep everybody busy. Puck says further proof Biden is senile, probably still thinks bread costs a nickel. It's bread is a lot more important, especially when you were around when they invented how to slice it. His uncle had to fight off Indians who were trying to eat him alive for his bread. Cannibals. Hunted by cannibals. While he's on the subject, because while he's talking about how great his legacy is, he's still busy sabotaging he's still busy just looking at some of these comments here because I read ahead while I'm talking. He oh my God. Hold on a second. But all people says Biden has been a weirdo his entire life. The only thing his brain surgery did was make it more apparent. Yeah. He can't hide it anymore after the brain surgery. Losing my train of thought here. Now I'm going to turn into Biden. Kimberly says his cheese slid off the cracker. Exactly. He's not done, by the way, sabotaging the incoming president, as is expressed by the Daily Caller here. Biden administration to dole out millions in refunds to illegal migrants who applied for failed amnesty. Isn't that sweet? Here's your tax dollars at work. The Biden-Harris administration will issue millions of dollars in refunds to illegal migrants who applied for an amnesty program that was struck down in court. United States Citizenship and Immigration Services intends to refund the $580 application fee to 94,000 individuals who paid in hopes of benefiting from the administration's Keeping Families Together program. The program, had it not been deemed unlawful, offered a pathway to citizenship for potentially hundreds of thousands of legal migrants living in the U.S. who are married to American citizens. Oh my God. The court order vacating the Keeping Families Together process has resulted in requesters paying a fee for an immigrant benefit request that, through no fault of their own, cannot be considered. The agency further noted that the refunds were in the public interest and consistent with applicable law. USCIS did not immediately respond to requests for comments, I bet. Migrants of several nationalities bound to the Mexico-U.S. border walked through Huixtla, Chiapas State, Mexico on November 21st. Oh, they're talking about the photo. I hate when they do that. You're supposed to put the captions under the photograph, not somewhere in the middle of the paragraph. Did AI write this? No, it says Jason Hopkins wrote it. So refunds being given out for a failed program that was shut down because it was deemed to be illegal. Now we got to give the money back. Perfect. Puck says Biden said he had to fight off the Indians every time he went to the 7-Eleven when Delaware was still a territory. Was that during the D-Day invasion? All People says, speaking of cannibals, back in the 1960s, the son of Governor Rockefeller of New York was allegedly eaten by cannibals. Really? Interesting. Eaten by cannibals. I wonder if he knew Biden's uncle. Maybe they crashed in the islands themselves together somehow. But yeah, a legal program had to be shut down. Now they got to refund everybody their $580 processing fee. Did they even pay that processing fee? Did they even pay that processing fee? Or was it paid for by some program? Puck says Biden thinks you can still buy a house for $770. Biden thinks you can still order a house kit out of the Sears catalog and build it yourself. Look that up. They had such a thing. Yeah, I'll just order me a house kit and I'll put it together. And it'll look like Ned Flanders' house after it was rebuilt by the neighborhood in that one episode. I don't know if anybody saw that. Incredible how this all works. Incredible how all this works. Monkey, where am I? He says, I seriously cannot wait for Biden to leave. Hey, 6 days and counting if he doesn't screw up anything else in the process. And Brian made a donation to the channel. Thank you, Brian. Again, goes a long way towards helping us with our felines. Hey, I'm happy if I can make enough in a week. I think I said this last week. I'm happy if I can make enough in a week to pay for a 30-pound bag of cat food. It adds up. It adds up. Adds up really quickly. So yeah, if you spend an average of $30 a week on just the dry food, 52 weeks, that's $1,560. And JJ says it's a shame they don't sell house kits anymore. Now they sell garden sheds as tiny homes. Well, you can't build a house kit anymore because of the codes and regulations won't allow for you to do the work yourself. That's the problem. Puck saw that episode where they rebuilt his wonky house. It looks like the Three Stooges did it. Brian says Hurricane Nettie. I remember that episode. He snapped at everybody for doing a half-assed job building the new house. Then he checked himself into a mental hospital. That's right. He couldn't do it anymore. Diddly, diddly, diddly. And it popped. He popped. He finally snapped. As we move around here, we'll move off of a corrupt Biden administration to someone corrupt in Florida. You know, I love talking about politicians and corruption. AltNet magazine article coming up. Florida sues company that pocketed the overpayment after CEO loaned herself $6.2 million to win a House seat. That's right. And that would be Representative Sheila Shifillis McCormick. Sheila Shifillis McCormick. And there she is. There she is. There's Sheila. Hi, Sheila. At least she doesn't look ratchet. During the C virus pandemic in 2021, the Florida Division of Emergency Management signed an agreement with Trinity Healthcare Services to register residents for the C virus vaccination. The FDEM, according to USA Today, owed $50,578.50 on an invoice, but accidentally paid $5 million more than it owed. There were subsequent overpayments to Trinity as well. Now USA Today's Anna Goni Lasan reports the state of Florida is suing Trinity to get back the money it overpaid. In 2021, Democrat Sheila, how did I know it was going to be a Democrat? Democrat Sheila Shifillis McCormick, now serving in the U.S. House of Representatives, was Trinity's CEO. McCormick, the USA Reporter notes, has been the subject of an unrelated House ethics complaint. In a letter to Trinity dated June 13, 2024, FDEM's Deputy Executive Director and General Counsel Stephanie Hoop told the company, part of the responsibility of doing business with the state of Florida is the requirement to return monies received in error. Okay? In response to USA Today's reporting, I don't care about that. That's somebody's idea there. Shifillis McCormick was first elected to the U.S. House via a special election in 2022 before winning a regular election later that year, and she was elected to a second full term in 2024. According to Lasan, the state of Florida overpayments to Trinity added up to more than $5.7 million. The state of Florida is arguing that Trinity, as a contractor, was required to return any overpayments of invoices for work not actually performed and money not actually owed, and is suing for damages, interest, attorney fees, costs, and other relief, according to the complaint. I wonder where that money went. I wonder where that money went. And All People goes on with Michael Rockefeller, says was in the Asmat region of New Guinea, and villagers and tribal elders admitted to Rockefeller being killed and eaten after swimming to shore in 1961. Oh, no. And Puck says Democrat didn't see that coming. JJ says, are we surprised? Yeah, indeed. Big surprise. $5.7 million. Where did it go? She was in charge, and then she leaves the job as CEO and becomes a representative Democrat in the state of Florida. I wonder how old she is. Because I'm not familiar with this person. Sheila Shifillis Sheferilis, spelled with a C. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. McCormick. And I'm going to look that up real quick because I'm curious now. Oh. She was born in 1979. Vice President for Trinity Healthcare Services, 1999 to 2007. Really? So she was a vice president for Trinity Healthcare Services at the age of 20? That doesn't sound right at all. So she's only in her 40s. Okay. And resigned that commission in what, 2022 or 2021? 2022. 2021. Trying to get it right. JJ says she's 45. Puck says 5.7 million went towards feeding hungry inner city children. Did it? And All People says, why does it seem black women, politicians, leaders always pose for photos with their arms crossed over their chest? It seems like so many have that hostile, stubborn pose. I don't know. That's an interesting observation, though. Interesting observation. I want to know how she got that position at the age of 20. I can only imagine. They'll probably get the money back, and it's a matter of opinion as to whether or not she'll be held accountable for it. Remains to be seen whether or not she is personally held accountable for what happened on her watch when that money was misappropriated by Trinity Healthcare. And what happened to that money, which it's more than 5.7 million now, because they're seeking 6.2 million because they want legal fees. 6.2 million. Kimberly says it's defensive body language, and Puck says DEI. Possibly. That could be DEI related. I don't know enough about her to speculate, but it seems to me like all of her experience is in healthcare insurance. I don't think that you have to. I don't think you have to necessarily be a politician to get into politics, as long as you're willing to do a good job. If you're willing to do the job, that ought to be enough. You could be a cashier, but if you're willing to do the job and you're willing to learn as you go, I don't care. Because I don't trust career politicians any more than I trust any of these other people. So the fact that she worked at an insurance company, it doesn't mean anything to me as far as her being a politician. I'll leave that up there from All People for a minute, because I don't think it really matters. What the background is. Wasn't it, oh God, what was his name? Was it Truman? Am I thinking of the right guy? He was a haberdasher. He made hats. Am I thinking of the right president? Was it Truman? I'm sure somebody knows. Puck says, I miss the 80s. Yeah, I know. Hey, everything peaked in the 80s. It really did. Movies, television, music. It all peaked in the 80s. And it's gone downhill ever since. And speaking of going downhill, we are getting close to the top of the hour. So I will go ahead and start signing off. Still have Miss Kitty asleep in the chair behind me. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion on YouTube Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. On Coffee Talk at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on Rumble, Coffee Talk 2, the number 2. And again, if you're watching on Rumble, keep in mind I cannot see your comments like I can see the comments from YouTube, because Restream doesn't work that way. Special thanks to Brian and to Rodney for making donations to the channel here today. Very much appreciated. Again, goes a long way towards helping us with our felines, with our shelter cats. So I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everyone else, for joining us. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation.